Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We are Yvette Schuit, and I'm Dennis de Metz. And we're hosting this webinar on medical aid in dying in Belgium and the Netherlands.
Thank you, Dennis. Also welcome to everyone from me. This webinar is being recorded on behalf of the World Federation of Right to Die Societies because they receive a lot of questions on the legal requirements in Belgium and the Netherlands, and that's something we will discuss with you today. So we will start today with the legal requirements in Belgium. Dennis, can you introduce yourself with your background and then dive into the Belgium requirements?
All right. So I'm Dennis de Metz. I have a PhD, and actually I'm trained as a nurse. So I came into contact with voluntary assisted dying by doing research on the attitudes and the future role, skills, and knowledge of final year nursing students towards euthanasia, and specifically in Belgium towards euthanasia and because of unbearable mental suffering. So you might heard different times the word euthanasia, because in Belgium and also in the Netherlands, it's quite common to call it euthanasia instead of medical assistance in dying or voluntary assisted dying. And so now I'm a lecturer at university and at University College.
Thank you. Might be also a good moment to introduce myself a bit further. My name is Yvette Schuit. I have a background in medical law, and I work as a legal counsel for the Dutch Right to Die organization called NVVE. So I think it's really good today that we have someone with a medical background and someone with a legal background to tell you all about this topic of medical aid in dying in both our countries. So Dennis, what are the requirements in Belgium for patients to get access to medical aid in dying?
So the law in Belgium as well as in the Netherlands, they are quite the same.
Yes.
So I think in both countries, you need a voluntary and well-considered written request, which is then there must be unbearable suffering with no prospect of improvement, and the suffering can be caused by a terminal disease or by a non-terminal condition. This is not so in every country where there is a law on voluntary assisted dying. So, but both of our countries have the possibility for terminal phase of life as well as for non-terminal conditions. The patient must be well informed about the remaining therapeutic options, the remaining life, the time of life that remains, and also one of the possibilities that needs to be discussed is the possibilities for palliative care. Then the patients who have a request for voluntary assisted dying, the patient will have several discussions with the physician, and so they have to conclude there is no other reasonable option. Now, that's lots of responsibilities for this physician. So this physician needs to ask an advice of a second one. The second physician needs to be independent from the patient as well as from the first physician. And then, because I'm a nurse in Belgium, it's stated in the law that if there is a nursing team that was in regular contact with the patient, it is advised to consult the nursing team as well. And at the end, because it's a procedure the physician has to follow, at the end, after the euthanasia took place, the physician has to report to the Federal Commission for Euthanasia. And they will decide whether this was a lawful application or not.
So these are all the requirements or the legal requirements in Belgium. As Dennis already stated, the law from the Netherlands and the law from Belgium regarding medical aid in dying are quite similar. However, there are small differences. Two of them I already highlighted in this slide. that in Belgium, the patient always needs to file a written request or request in writing. And in the Netherlands, it can also be a spoken request. In Belgium, the law clearly states that the option of palliative care needs to be discussed, whereas in the Netherlands, we do require that there are no reasonable solutions to alleviate the suffering, but the option of palliative care is not written in our legal framework. And another difference is that the nursing team has a specific place in your legal framework. So let me go over to the criterion for the Netherlands. I'm not going to repeat them all because, as you can see, they are quite similar. Even the consultation of an independent physician. And then another difference is that for the Netherlands, it also states in the law that the procedure of medical aid in dying needs to be performed with due medical care and needs to be followed by the guidelines, which is also the case in Belgium, but it doesn't have a status in your legal framework. And another little difference is in Belgium, dying from medical aid in dying is considered a natural death. And in the Netherlands, it is considered a non-natural death. So in the Netherlands, the physician has to report to the coroner, and then the coroner will report to the review committee, whereas in Belgium, the physician directly performs to the federal commission that also processes the same review as in.
And we have another small difference, but it's really like a small one. Belgium and the Netherlands are the only two countries where minors are allowed to request for voluntary assisted dying. And in the Netherlands, they can ask it from 12 years on.
Yes.
And in Belgium, there is no age requirement, as long as the patient is capable and competent of doing the request. But they wanted to avoid that a child of 11 years and a half would not be able to request for a VAD because he's not 12 years old. But like in practice, for example, a 6 years old will never have the permission to have euthanasia.
Oh, that's a very smart thing to add, because in the Netherlands, everyone from 18 and up is legally capable of filing a request themselves. Between 12 and 14, or I must correct myself, between 12 and 16, the parents need to agree with the request as well. And between 16 and 18, the parents only need to be informed. But luckily, that's a very small number of cases.
The same for Belgium.
Total, yes. I think this is a good moment to look at the numbers from both our countries. Dennis, can you tell a bit about the numbers of 2024 in Belgium?
So in Belgium, there are about 11 million inhabitants. And so we had around 4,000 cases last year, so in 2024. Most of them, or more or less half of them, are because of cancer. Second one is polypathology, and polypathology are mostly elderly in a non-terminal condition. And these are people, and they're dealing with lots of diseases or
would you say like medical conditions that are related to being old? For example, having trouble hearing, having trouble seeing, having trouble walking.
A bit of rheuma, a bit of arthritis, lots of things. And the combination of these things makes for them that it's unbearable suffering. And then we have the more, the neurological, the cardiovascular, the cognitive. And which is something also special for Belgium and Netherlands, we have a history in mental health disorders as well. And so if we have a look at the number during history, then we mention like every year the number is increasing.
Yes.
But the number of people, of the percentage of people with cancer is decreasing. So people are more and more applying for VAD for other conditions as cancer. So it's not only cancer. At the beginning, it was almost exclusively cancer, and now other diseases are more visible.
And in Belgium, if you look at a patient suffering from a psychiatric or a mental disorder, are there extra criteria in place to protect these patient group?
So in Belgium, there will be several discussions. And so from the moment a patient requests for euthanasia because of mental suffering, there will be a waiting period of minimum 1 month in between the request and the act of VAD. In practice, it's 1 year, but by law, it's 1 month. And there needs to be a second consulted physician. And the second consulted physician has to be a psychiatrist in this case.
And is there also another age limit for patients?
Psychiatric disorders is actually all non-terminal conditions is only for adults.
So only 18 and up. And I noticed you saying VAD a few times, and then by VAD,
it's euthanasia or medical assisted dying.
So it's the voluntary assisted dying, just an abbreviation. I think we can also compare these numbers to the numbers in the Netherlands. The Netherlands has around 18 million inhabitants. And in 2024, we had about, almost 10,000 carried out a medical assisted dying, or people from, but I just call them cases, almost 10,000 cases. And if you look at the underlying medical condition, you can see that it is quite similar to what we saw from Belgium. I think it's the same trend in the earlier years. We saw the same, that it was more terminal disease, and now it's broadening to, for example, we call it a accumulation of old age complaints. Here I also call them polypathology, or like a combination of diseases. And specifically for psychiatric disorder, we don't have the waiting period as a criterion, but we do have the consultation of an extra physician with a psychiatric background. And in practice, it takes years to get these requests assessed. And something to add to this, I think another main difference between our two countries is the possibility of getting a medical assisted dying based on a written request for patients that suffered from dementia. So in both our countries, you can file a request for euthanasia or medical assisted dying if you suffer from dementia in an early stage, so when you still have your mental capacity to make the decision. And in the Netherlands, you can also file a written request for after you lost your mental capacity. Yet it happens only 5 to 10 times a year, because it's really complicated to determine whether or not a patient is still suffering. And from what I understood, in Belgium, you can file a request for when you enter a coma. So if you would know you would be entering a coma, then you could file or maybe you should explain, because you are the expert from Belgium.
So in Belgium, you can ask for medical assisted dying when you have dementia, but only in the beginning phase. So when you're still legally competent. Afterwards, it's not possible. But the statement of will, it's called. It's like when you are by accident or by illness, you come into an irreversible coma, and you have the statement of will written before and registered before that. If I'm in an irreversible coma, then I would like to have medical assisted dying. Then that's the only possibility when you're unconscious or incompetent to have your medical assistance in dying.
Oh, interesting.
So it's the other way around.
Yeah. So we both have the possibility of the written advance directive or the written will. But in Belgium, it's possible for irreversible coma. In the Netherlands, it's possible for when you lose your capacity to dementia. So we spotted another difference. I guess that brought us to the slide. Which differences did we spot thus far? I think we just went through this. So I'll skip to the next one. And I think very important to highlight during this webinar is the possibility for non-residents to travel to either Belgium or Netherlands in order to get access to medical aid in dying, compared to the Swiss situation. So is it possible to make your last journey to Belgium, for example?
It is possible to make a last journey to Brussels, to Belgium. So I asked around because I'm not familiar with non-resident cases. So, but it has happened. So last year in 2024, it's the first year there are official numbers. So 140 non-Belgian residents has got voluntary assisted dying in Belgium. So 140 out of the 4,000. And so the way it works is people contact the life ending information forum in France. So just by Teams or by telephone, they will get in contact. Then there will be a medical file will be forwarded to the Belgian physician, the Belgian committee. So this committee will have a look at it. If they think it is this person can ask for voluntary assisted dying, and they can approve it, then there will be a Teams meeting, and still, so the process continues. And if they decide, if they are convinced, like, okay, this is a case where voluntary assisted dying is legal, then the patient can travel to Belgium to have the voluntary assisted dying.
And are there extra criteria? Does the patient need to register as a citizen, or?
So you don't need to be registered as a citizen. The only case is it will cost you more money because you do not have insurance.
Oh, so it's not funded by the healthcare insurance, but you have to pay out of your own pocket?
By yourself, yeah.
And where are people coming from? Do you have
because it was now stated the first time, most people came out of France. I have a quick look because I printed it out. So France, it's like 88% is France, and then 2 people from Germany, 2 from the Netherlands.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then we have some Belgians, but they are living abroad. We have 1 person from Spain, 1 from Hungary, 1 from Portugal, and 1 from England. So these were the non-residents who has got their voluntary assisted dying in Belgium.
And you started telling that this request or this quest for information can start at life at the Belgian Association. Okay, and that is also a very small part of the total. So it's 140 out of.
But something to keep in mind about these numbers is as well, like Belgium and Brussels is like a hotspot for European Commission. So we have lots of headquarters of European Commission, European Parliament. You have the NATO headquarters are in Brussels. So Brussels is a very international area. So these numbers might be a bit influenced by these people who are working and living in Brussels.
But they are not registered.
They are not registered in Belgium. So it might be a bit influenced, but it is known that French people are coming over the border to have their medical assistance in dying.
Yeah, now we saw that there are some developments in France as well. So hopefully these people don't have to travel abroad to get their wishes granted in the future.
So for the international listeners to this webinar, Belgium and France are neighbors, so are neighbor countries.
Yeah, and then they would most likely, the people from France travel to the French part or the French-speaking part of Belgium.
Also something in Belgium, so we have a Dutch-speaking part and we have a French-speaking part. So the people from France, it's easy for them to travel to the French-speaking part because they share the same language.
Okay, that's clear.
And how about the Netherlands?
Because funny you're asking.
Because to me it's a bit strange. You have 2 people from the Netherlands who travel to Belgium to have their medical assistance in dying.
Yeah, I'm also curious how that went. Perhaps their own physician was not willing to help. In the Netherlands, we do require people to get registered in the Netherlands, have a identification number, and have health insurance. And then, of course, you need access to a physician, a doctor who is willing to help you. So we do get this question a lot from abroad, and try to explain that it is a really long and time consuming and expensive process to move to the Netherlands in order to get a medical assisted dying. So we get this question a lot from people that already in their terminal phase, and it's almost impossible to arrange everything before your end is here. It is in that sense not really comparable to Switzerland, because in Switzerland there are like specific clinics that offer this option to people from abroad, and that's what they do basically. So if I get a question from the US, for example, I would redirect them to contact these organizations because it's less of a hassle to arrange. But criteria wise, if you would move here, if you would register here, if you are, of course, allowed to register here, you have health insurance and a doctor that is willing to help. It is possible, yet
over several years.
Yes. And what is interesting to tell, I think, is that Belgium started with this registration last year. We don't have the numbers. So I have heard of some cases for people that moved to the Netherlands in order to get a medical assisted dying. And the cases that I know of are people that moved to the US after World War II and returned in order to. So it's more Dutch citizens that have been living abroad the biggest part of their life, and they return home in order to get access to this. I sometimes see like online some influencers stating that they're moving to the Netherlands in order to get medical assisted dying for a mental issue. It is not impossible, but it will take many, many years, and you are never sure of the outcome, especially for people with a psychiatric disorder. It is still a request to your doctor, so the doctor is never forced to help you. So I think, long story short, is it possible? Yes. Is it easy? Not at all. So
And it's the same for Belgium. So is it possible? Yes. Is it easy? Not that easy. For sure, not if it's in the case of mental disorders, because although it's legal, it still remains very discussable, and it's not that much approved by society as in the case of terminal suffering. And a difference with Swiss is we do not have like these end-of-life clinics or special organizations who are only are doing medical assistance in dying. So you need to apply to a general practitioner or to a physician or to an organization. There are some organizations, but these are not like organizations focusing only on medical assistance in dying, but more are like information points for end-of-life care. So, so we do not have the organizations like in Switzerland.
Yes, and I must also add to this, I think in our ideal world, or at least my ideal world, there would be no need to travel abroad in order to get a death with dignity or get medical assisted dying, because even in European countries, there are so many countries still that have no regulation or no access. So hopefully it will in maybe in my lifetime there will be a bit more access for everyone around the world. And I think that brought us to our last slide for the discussion. I was just wondering, do you see other differences between the Netherlands and Belgium, maybe from a cultural point of view, or do you want to add something to the discussion?
Something that so the Netherlands and Belgium by time it's quite the same. We both had our law in 2002. But like they're always saying, like when it's raining in Amsterdam, it's dripping in Brussels. And so I do hope in the future that medical assistance in dying will be accessible for more patients as it is now. As for example, the discussion is ongoing in Belgium about dementia. And so to open up our law to the same situation as in the Netherlands, so that when people, when they write it down before, like when I'm in that phase of dementia, then I would like to have my euthanasia. So I hope that will be the case for the future. Another thing that is discussed or was discussed, but I think it's it calmed down a bit, was about euthanasia for fulfilled life. But this discussion is not ongoing for the moment. I think they are focusing more on the dementia at an advanced stage.
Yeah, so there is a bill being discussed in Parliament now. And in the Netherlands, we have the same discussion about what we call completed life. So it's like people above 75 that do not suffer from a medical condition, but look at their life and think it's completed. There's a bill currently with one of the political parties, but we just have to wait if this is gonna go through both our parliaments. And we also have elections coming up, so it's a bit politically, it's a bit unsure. But I think to conclude, if we look at both our regulations and the criteria and the patients that find a way to medical aid in dying, it is quite similar, apart from small details. We also discussed that for both our countries, it is theoretically possible to travel from abroad, but it's quite a hassle and quite a procedure to undergo. We highlighted some discussion points. So I think we came to the end of this webinar. And I would like to thank everyone for watching and their attention. And I also want to thank you, Dennis.
And thank you for the invitation. And if you have more questions, please contact us by the World Federation and to have this discussion ongoing.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.